This is Women Matters of the 10th of March, 2025. Good, we are in 6 today, that's fine. And how many countries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 continents. That's great. It's always exciting me to me when we meet so globally. Okay, check in, ragazzi. Ragazzi is Italian, no? Ragazze, checked in. Monia, to first, Vienna.
All right. Well, spring is here in Vienna. It's warm and there is the dust from the Sahara covering everything in a yellowish hue, which is rather, well, and there's no rain, and we have forest fires in Austria because it's so dry, so we are hoping for rain, but this is just usual around this time of the year. And otherwise, I'm fine. I pass on to Victoria.
Thank you. I'm just moving because I'm in a loud place. So I'm trying to get to a quiet place. So greetings, everybody. Sorry for motion sickness. Greetings from San Diego. It's a beautiful day. I'll prove it by opening my curtain. I've just come home. I've been out for the last couple of hours, so I'm readjusting. Yeah, spring has sprung. And let's see what else to say. A lot going on. I have been through some emotional turmoil, and I'm expecting potentially some major emotional turmoil in a couple of days. So I'm trying to fortify myself for any kind of drama, family drama. So I'm glad to be here in community, and I will pass to Hanali.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm Annelie here in Cape Town. And with us, we have still summer, like midsummer weather. And in the evenings, it sometimes get a bit cooler. Autumn is on its way. We can feel it, but still very, very hot days and lots of wind and so forth. Which for me is always good because it blows away all the stuff, clears the air and so forth. So I actually love the wind. Sometimes it can just really get crazy. I'm good. And yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you all. And I'm passing to you, Gertraud.
Yeah, from South Africa to Germany. It couldn't get much wider. Yeah, I have been. Yeah, you might be not surprised with me, but I have been on a summit that's called Pain-Free Summit. I have some hip problems, and with a young guy who really goes back to the original body. How does that original body, how did evolution create us, and to come back to that. And what I've thought was really interesting was this combination of knowledge and practices and community and everything. And one that really stuck with me was, I don't know if anybody of you know tensegrity. These are like sticks that are combined together with rubber bands, and so none is touching any other. So it's like the way that the bands hold the whole thing, it's kind of taking the sticks apart, but it holds. and he said, this is how our body should work. So it's not, so when you walk, and then it should, the joints should get out, extended again. And yeah, so I created myself a morning routine, how I could do, to go about what they have for pain patients, they have a year program, which is not cheap. But it was, I mean, for 24 days, they had 8 hours you could attend. So it was really amazing. So I'm learning again. And had some very nice new clients and things like that. So some prospects.
Do you have any exercises for your wrists, maybe?
For your wrists. I mean, the whole thing was to come back to the core, and from there you can, so the extremities will benefit from, not just to do
I see.
something at a certain thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I spent my last 3 weeks with. And I hand over to Christine, to Carlsbad,
Carlsbad, California.
California, genau. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just developed a new pain in my elbow. It's strange. It's just this tiny little spot, but I feel it all the time because you're always moving your arm. So every time I move my arm or bend my elbow, you feel it. I'm sure it's a loss of cartilage or whatever. But 2 things going on with me. The wedding on April 11th is getting a lot closer, and we've had a couple of meetings at the venue, met with the caterer last weekend, and this weekend we just met with the day of coordinator. We have a woman who was hired to help make the day go smoothly, take care of the vendors, make sure everybody who we've hired is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that was good because then we know a little bit better about how things are going to unfold. We went through a whole timeline of the day and who's doing what when and what's going to go on. And now it's down to details. The only, I'm sending my daughter, would you like, I sent her, I think everybody probably knows what Etsy is. Everybody know what Etsy is? Yeah. And I'm finding out there's like a gazillion things you can get for weddings.
Oh, great.
So I'm finding this little, do you want this sign? Do you want that thing? We're going to do Polaroid Instamatic photos for the guest books. So we've got the film and people are going to take a picture of themselves and then put that in the guest book as they sign. And so those kind of little details we're putting in place, and who's going to dance to what songs and all that kind of stuff. My daughter takes care of, 90% of it, and she's very good at it, very organized. But I think I've mentioned this, the big unknown is she wants to do the flower arranging herself. And that's one, she's never done that at that scale. And 2, it's not an easy thing to do. It's a professional thing. So we'll see. But she and I both agree it's, the flowers are not going to make or break the day. It's, they're not the biggest part of the day. So we're not too worried about it. And then the other thing to report is that I'm gradually being phased out of my office. And that's a long story, but the short side of it is that it looks like starting in April, I'll no longer have office space on Wednesdays, and whoever wants to come into the office, I'm going to have to squeeze in on my one day, which is Monday. So I'm bringing that up because it probably will affect my availability at Women's Matters on Monday mornings. I will try to avoid scheduling over Women's Matters as much as possible. but it is the only day I have left in the office at this point. So it's not really my choice, but I don't have a lot of say over how the office is being utilized at this point because I'm being phased out. So that said, Gertraud, are you going to IEC?
How is Tom doing? Fine?
Oh, Tom's doing better, thanks. He's, he's did gardening this weekend and he's continuing to walk. He met with the surgeon's physician assistant this past week, and so everything's going well. Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. So still getting his energy back, but everything else is going good. Thank you.
And do you have to cook a diet, or does he take care
No,
of
they
himself?
said now that the gallbladder's out, he doesn't even have to be low fat, although I think we'll maintain that. Low fat, low sodium. But he doesn't have to be on a special diet. No.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Gertraud, are you going to IEC this time?
No.
No?
I guess not. It's the first birthday of my youngest coming up, and yeah, some other issues. So I said to Stefan, I will not come with, though it would be the first time not since 2016. So I was really like kind of, but yeah, I guess not.
Well, I will miss you then. And I will hand over to Heidi.
Yeah, thank you. I won't come to Hungary because probably I need a new car, and so I have no money at all to spend in that thing. But I probably will go to Germany for a not so expensive thing. So
And tell me when you're there.
probably I go to the Free Flow Festival, which is in July, combining with my family meeting where my sister with her family from California comes to Coburg, and so I will do that together. Christine, it seems to me a wedding like a film production or something, like a big theater show. When I think my weddings, we just went there to the office and married, and then we had a nice meal. The very first one was a bit bigger, but not in the same scale. It's incredible what you are doing there. Good. So no, I'm fine. I had some extreme experiences in this week, which opened my mind again about the levels of development, and to meet directly red and blue energy without any consciousness. There's no consciousness about self, and that was very interesting, because normally we are together in our level of development, no? And then you meet a person in this other, and it was really amazing. I've learned a lot.
Ken
So
Wilber says
with Monia,
it's
we
not
would,
conflicting people, it's conflicting levels.
yes, for sure. And I also saw the pain in the eye of that person, the emptiness, of outside, like, haha, no? But when you look closer, you see that's, I don't know, is it fear or is it lostness, to be lost in somewhere? And, that was really impressive for me to see that. And the inability in these stages to handle it, because there's no, so just go ahead with the same that you did all the time, like how do you say, like a sort of dependency, like of you have to do this all the time without knowing that you are drivenness. I think it's the word for that. It was very interesting. So the topic for today, I don't know if you have some idea. Monia, remember that we talked about, prayer last time, but about what was it? Not graciousness. I forget.
Generosity.
Generosity. With my learning of trying to learn the Russian words, now I don't remember any words, not even anymore in English, and often not in German and Italian. It's going, it's going really strange. So generosity was the word. Yeah, thank you. What are you thinking about that? And if yes, just start what comes to mind.
Heidi, as you were sharing about what happened to you, I had a similar experience with an old friend who comes up from our type of community, who slided back. And because during COVID, they moved to Wisconsin. They were in California, and then they moved to Wisconsin and lived with family, which are more of the nature of blue and red, if you like, you share it. And it seems like it rubbed off on her. And it was really interesting to also, as you mentioned, the eyes, and we did it online, so it was not even in person, but I could see there was something missing. It was like, she's not the same person anymore. It was really interesting. It was rather shocking, but also really interesting. And she is a very generous person, by the way, as we're speaking about generosity.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really interesting to be with her and not to go into a phase of judgment or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be present with her and allow her to share whatever she's experiencing and how she sees the world right now. But it was rather interesting, quite a shock.
Yeah, that would also be a possibility to talk about what you can see in the eyes of other people, because for me, the eyes are disclosing much more than words or even movement, no? So actually, I do with our Pilates teacher. She is very good in African dance and everything, and writes books and paints, and is really good in everything, but she doesn't get enough clients. And you know, when you see her with her eyes, she always goes back like this. She is not self-asserting. That and if you don't assert yourself, people don't, you know. So I, for a while, I do with her, every time I see her, I challenge her with the eyes and ask her to come to. I tried with attacking, but attacking didn't work. She is too sweet, you know. So now I try with curiosity, that she opens the eyes and goes into my eyes, you know. I wonder if I can contribute to her to be more, how can you say, such an, like, first she looks with the eyes are like this, and then she is sort of retracting these eyes, you know, and then she invites other people to come in and take advantage of her, you know, which is happening all the time. And so it's another sort of therapy, I guess, which I'm doing in 2 minutes every week, but I hope that something will come. It's already a bit better. She is already more able to hold the how do you say, the meetings of the eyes, instead of disappearing, no? So connecting with generosity, I could call that generosity, to work with people in this way, to offer that. But it's also because it's such a shame when a person is so gifted and doesn't find recognition, you know. And but from the outside, you see that she herself is not recognizing it. So no, is not valuing what she's doing, because otherwise she could offer it like this instead. Oh, will you really, you know, like this is, people feel that, and so they don't come. Okay, give over to you.
Monia, what made you come up with that word, with that.
Well, I just wrote it down last time. I don't know how it came up, but I was just wondering whether true generosity is without any intent. Can you follow me? So open-ended, that you don't expect something to happen, but that you just give. Yeah.
That brings up the whole subject of altruism. I think, yeah, I remember generosity coming up too, and it might have been, I'm not sure, but I'm in a year-long course studying the 10 paramis or ultimate virtues in Buddhism, and the first one is generosity. So I'm suspicious it may have had something to do with something I said last time. And one of my teachers, this is not related to that particular course. This is was in a different setting, but I have one teacher who is so strict about these virtues, that he says, if you can gain anything from, if you're aware that you can gain anything as a result of your act of generosity, then it's not pure generosity. And so he doesn't use the word altruism, but that's what I thought of when he said that. I thought it's this idea of doing good with no expectation of receiving anything whatsoever in return. But he raised the bar so high, I thought, in actual fact, it's not, I mean, it's utopian. Like inevitably, I think as human beings, we live in a give and take relationship where it's, even God, well, I mean, that's another topic, but I see even God in terms, according to my belief, God created the universe out of love and generosity, but God does receive in return. I mean, that's the whole idea of praising God or loving God, the idea of free will, so that you're not obligated. Nobody's obligated to love or to do good. You do it out of your own free will. Otherwise, it's inauthentic. You're just a slave. So to me, the idea of generosity is kind of, the ideal should be that you have, when you said intent, but I guess, is that what you meant? And in other words, the sense of like, it's open-ended, just like you gave the cacao to your granddaughter. Um, that was an act of generosity that just came out of love and out of the impulse of the moment. You saw that she was stressed out. She'd been through a lot, and you wanted to give her something that would make her, comfort her and make her happy and comfortable, And I see that as just, natural. That's to me like human nature at its best, just giving because you see a need and you respond.
I recently heard or saw somewhere that giving our attention is the greatest gift. So, I mean, you could call it attention, you could call it time with somebody, but that is the greatest gift we have. And I don't know, the term generosity also made me think that there is it means that there's a relationship. Can even just be a relationship with somebody you don't even know. If you're giving to a charity generously, you don't know who's receiving it, but there is still a relationship. So that speaks kind of in integral or spiral, I should say spiral language. That's really those levels that speak more about community and connectedness, as opposed to the levels in spiral that are more devoted to individuality and achievement, that kind of thing. There's definitely a sense of community with the different levels, every other level of spiral. And I tend to think about that. Generosity can be a lot of things. It can be something very material, or spiritual, or an idea. It can be something abstract. I think I've learned generosity from my mother, definitely.
she had a sense of generosity, of caring for those people who were less fortunate. And I remember her sending money to relatives in Russia on a consistent basis. And her parents, my grandparents, were also generous. During the Depression, they owned a grocery store. And you can imagine that they saw a lot of people in need who couldn't pay for their groceries. So I know my mother witnessed firsthand during the Depression how people took care of each other in very real ways that were very meaningful at that time. So I fear that generosity is becoming old-fashioned because I think we're in some people are very much in a phase of individuality and do it yourself and don't count on other people, and you got to be in it for you and don't think too much about sharing or caring. So those values in the lower left quadrant are definitely being challenged, I think, these days. Where did anybody else learn generosity from? Who did they see being generous? I'm just curious.
I just
I think
wanted
it's rather my father. Yeah, so my mom was more stingy. I mean, we were 7 kids, so she had to somehow. But my father, yeah, so I saw him more like when the boat people, the Vietnamese in 79 came. So I mean, she did that when he initiated it. So they took care of Vietnamese 4 kids that came alone, and we invited the all the community. They were in a house next to ours, and we invited them, and my parents would take care to bring them to the dentist or and to give to charity and things like that. So he was more the one who was thinking that way, more than my mom. And when I'm thinking of generosity, it's always like more than expected, or more than you should, or more than the treaty says, or more. Yeah, so it's always like an act of beyond the what's normal or expected or written down or whatever.
You have given me an idea, Christine. This individuality and the orange way of living can use generosity outside to instead getting a gain of it. It can seem like generosity, somebody gives $1 million to, I don't know, some seemingly generous thing, but at the end they are earning with it, so it can be very much abused, that it's only seemingly generosity. I'm thinking about Bill Gates, for instance, giving $1 million and getting back 7 or 10 millions at the end from his but there are many people in this way. So what is genuine? You said it more or less. No? What is genuine generosity? Gertraud said when it is, you give something, before you were saying something and don't expect anything back. And you say it is more than you should do, or which is expected from you when you give more. Is this, can we have more definitions? Is there more about it?
I have an idea for a practice if you want to.
Let's hear Anneli first.
Thank you, Heidi. I learned from my dad, I think, the most. He was even with his time, not just with money and things like that. He would always work for people on public holidays, and he worked together with him, and he didn't want anything back for it. And he also he paid for people in the community's children to go to university, while 2 of his kids were at university when he was still alive. And he didn't want anything back for it. So I learned from him that it's from the heart. It's something that you give from the heart. It's not even thinking about it. It just comes. It's just the word that comes up, it's natural. So it's not even that you compare something. You just know, yeah, you just do it. You don't even think about it. That's what I learned from him.
I was going to say, to be generous, you have to be thinking of somebody else's needs, right? There's no generosity if you're not considering what somebody else might need or want. And I think for myself, it's probably one of the biggest triggers for feeling guilt. Honestly, I think I'm always wondering if I'm being generous enough. Tom and I have different values regarding that, and I have conceded to him. And maybe that's a sign of generosity by conceding to him, or maybe it's being not courageous or not brave enough on my part. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably both. But there's ways in which I've suggested or I've wanted to provide something for somebody, and he wasn't so thrilled about the idea. And it would have taken both of us to agree. So, it makes me feel guilty. Like I could do more. I should do more. Why aren't I doing more? It's quite a guilt provoker for me.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I still have another idea. Are you generous if you give to a person something which the person doesn't even want?
Well, I think that's a big piece of it. Christine said generosity is old-fashioned, which I think is great. I mean the statement, not the idea. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, why is it old-fashioned? And I realized it is that we're in this kind of do-it-yourself culture where we're not used to, because there's a kind of grace and graciousness in being a recipient of generosity. And I think pride, I feel like the underlying, I mean, Christine, you said guilt provoking, but I was thinking, yeah, what does that whole issue bring up in us? And I was thinking, the way I see it, pride is behind it at every step of the way. So in other words, if you, like the great donors, like here locally, well, Christine knows that Jacob's family, there's a family that became fabulously wealthy virtually overnight through technology. And their names are on everything. Like you can't walk down the street without the Jacobs building of this and the Jacobs that and the Jacobs such and such, such and such. And yes, they've been generous, but they've also, their photographs are everybody. I went to the symphony, to a concert, and saw this enormous double portrait of them in the foyer instead of where it used to be a nice kind of Rococo painting. And so to me, that's a dubious generosity insofar as it's only they're not profiting financially from all this largesse, but they are profiting immensely in terms of how they're regarded by the community, and they see their own image everywhere. It's a narcissism. And then similarly, pride can be on the other side of people, like you said, Heidi. What if you receive something you don't want? Or what if the person, maybe that's not the example, but I know my mother, who was extremely generous, was a very awkward receiver because she was a narcissist. And somehow the idea that somebody would perceive a need in her, whatever kind of need, whether material or non-material, it was very hard for her to receive because it somehow she felt it was deflating her self-aggrandizement, this immense kind of megalomania, a kind of Grossenwahn or whatever it's called. So that's an issue too. So the pride goes on both sides. That are we too proud to receive, or are we too proud to, or are we trying to increase our image by giving, that we see ourselves as virtuous and noble, etc.
Finland. That's a nice expression.
Gertraud, you wanted to offer generously an exercise? Or?
Yeah.
Go
So it's when you think of generosity, I mean, like not thinking in a way, have it analyzed, but just the notion of generosity. There is something in you that already responds. So where in your awareness do you find, or you could say, where does that reside in your awareness, that notion of generosity? Where do you find it in your body or in your awareness?
I feel it on the left side somewhere.
I feel it in the heart, like Hanali said. I feel it right here.
I had almost an elevator feeling from the solar plexus to the heart somewhere here. So there was a movement, coming up.
Yeah, for me, it's
So and now
to the higher heart. Sorry.
And you, Manja?
Yeah,
and Christine?
also an elevator feeling to the heart, but it's mostly in the heart here.
Gut feeling.
There is, strangely enough, a kind of sadness was there as well.
Yeah, that's what I want you to just feel. Is there any color? Is there any shape? Is there any temperature that you feel? Is there anything that tells you more about it, just in the sensations, just in the awareness?
I just had this image of, maybe because I chose the gut, that, there's this expanse and contraction. The heart would do the same thing. It would expand and contract, but kind of, with generosity, there's an expansion, and then you kind of have to come back and hold stable, and then you can expand, but then you have to come back and hold stable. So that's kind of the motion I thought of. Can I ask a question, Gertraud? As soon as you said color, or as soon as you opened it up, I realized my mind jumped in.
Okay.
And I wondered,
no, just whatever.
I wondered how does one, my question is, how do you switch that off so you can actually perceive what's happening organically? Because I immediately thought, oh, well, red's the color, like, like the heart and Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And then
just
let go
and go back to the real, the actual sensation. So just, and forget about the what I said. It's more like, what can you say about it, what you feel?
I feel a rolling wave in my shoulders.
I feel a little bit as if it's, when I said left side, it's the heart, but like a big balloon or a big ball, and it somehow is confining me. It's if it wants past the walls of this ball, but it's sort of not finding the way. And a little bit I can feel into what Monia said of sadness, with a feeling.
I feel like a bowl. So I said it was kind of a motion here, and then it's snuggled or like resided in a bowl. So like here. So the other way, like the diaphragm. So yeah, feels like in some kind of golden thing. It's not all golden, but there's a golden shimmer to it. So, and now just allow it to expand as much as it wants to, this generosity throughout your awareness. So expand into, don't force it, don't do anything about it, just let it expand.
This was a nice move because I felt it expand in my whole body. And then it went into my arms and into the hands. And I connected it with doing, that it's now going up to the hands. It was nice.
Do you know the Nada Brahma meditation? There is this arm movement. You go like this. So you really expand. But there's a second movement when you take it back to yourself. So you also have to be generous to yourself, I guess. I just remembered that. So it's the first movement is it's a quarter of an hour like this, and then you go and collect it in yourself as well, because otherwise you would deplete yourself. So you really have to watch out for yourself as well, without being stingy.
And how did it feel for you?
Yeah, I remember that. All of a sudden, I saw those both movements.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Great.
Because I haven't done that meditation in a long time, but it's
yeah. Just stay connected to that. And you,
that
Christine?
reminded me, Monia's movement. It reminds me of what we do in yoga class when we're breathing in and opening up, and then we come back to the heart center as we exhale, and we bring it all back in, and we do that motion, several times during a class.
And how did it feel for you, this expansion by itself?
Good. Feels good. Feels open, feels welcoming, feels connected. Yeah. I would like to hear from either Monia or Heidi, because they both mentioned sadness and I mentioned guilt, and I was wanting to hear a little bit more from them regarding how they experience that.
Well, as you mentioned it, I always see much more need than I can give. So that's the sadness. But that's the way it is. It's I'm not a millionaire, but I give my time and my attention, and I'm walking with my husband. We have a little park next door, and I walk now for exercise, because the therapist said unless he walks every day around the park, he won't start exercising with him. So now and I follow him. So Yeah, but I guess it's not because of generosity, because it's a necessity to support him.
Mhm.
I don't know whether that's generous, but it's just a necessity.
Stay connected while everybody shares. And so who hasn't shared yet? I'm not completely sure. Anneli and Victoria.
Yeah, for me, I felt oneness. I felt no differentiation between myself and everything around me.
I felt it kind of almost like a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like kind of waves of warmth, kind of like moving outward, but then also moving inward. It was a kind of like a pulsing, but not like the heart, more like well, I don't know. It felt bigger and warmer. I mean, I actually felt like a change in temperature.
Mm-hmm. So now stay connected with that. For me, it was kind of this bowl was kind of going up and just letting it flow through the lower parts of my body as well. And there was a shiver going through. And now stay connected with that and let the emergence come. I mean, like, is there any idea, any impulse, anything that comes up that, like, you want to do, you want to share, you want to feel? Is there anything that comes out of this expanded generosity inside you? Like Heidi said with her hands, something like, what do the hands want to do, for example? Can be something symbolic or actual, whatever that is.
For me, what comes up is an expression of joy.
You just want to feel it, or do you want to do something with it?
Share it.
Mm-hmm.
I got this sense of color, which you had mentioned, Gertrude. You know, generosity being given as something that feels very green, kind of a connecting color, nature, something natural,
Mm-hmm.
and receiving kind of more a sense of white because of not having anything attached to it. So white kind of is a blank screen. So if you can, to me, white for receiving is a sense of don't have anything attached to it. Don't make it complicated. Just keep it more pure.
Something like just say thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I immediately thought of this guy who did the summit. He's extraordinary. And I really felt I want to give him something, and I came up with what I can send to him. Yeah.
For me, it's like I'm just still looking for what I can do with these hands. There is still the energy flowing out, but I have no idea where where it is going. Either no control, or it's not yet going, or I don't feel a direction where it is going yet, let's say.
Mhm. Nearly your joy is beaming. It's nice. Yeah. Mm.
I just notice how warm the heart area has become, and it's really expanding. Yeah, it's very, very, for me, it's very relaxing and peaceful. Without wanting anything, without needing anything. It's just as Victoria said, it's a pulsing vibration. Mm.
You can come back to your generosity anytime. You now know where it resides, and then you let it expand, and from there you can act, or you can, I don't know, whatever feels right to you. And yeah, so
Gertraud, as usual, you have been very generous to us. Thank you. It's
And
greatly
Heidi also.
appreciated.
Yeah, no, and Heidi also
Yeah, very
for
appreciated.
creating all of this
You
all
have
these
shown us
years.
so many beautiful exercises over the years. So whenever you learn something new, you share it, and that's really great. Yeah.
and by the way, I asked if I can share instant change with you, and I'm allowed to do that, like a group practice.
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell them that I'm going to do it and when. So Heidi, goes back to you
I
to
think I
close it.
wanted to add this pulsing in my heart. I feel it very strongly, and I also got the heat waves, which is not unusual, but it just came up in the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So, but I feel when my heart is beating in this way, I feel it a little uncomfortable because, you know, it's like. Anyway, I feel good now. And I thank you, all of you, who have shared this.
Do we still have a minute? Hanali, can you explain the what you wrote in the chat, the philanthropy washing? Or is that going backwards in the subject? I don't know. I've never seen that term before, so it made me curious.
Me neither. Yeah, but
Well, washing, what they mean by washing usually is when people do it just for the, like you were sharing about that rich family. They just do it for the show outwards to be recognized in the world. It's not really from the heart. So people do greenwashing, so they do things for sustainability, but it's not really because they care about the earth, for example. Now there's philanthropy washing as well. And some names come up as we were speaking. It's people just doing it for their public persona. But it's not really, so it's not really giving. It's not through altruism. It's washing is when they say you wash something in that sense, it's for the show.
Oh, okay. Oh, so maybe like maybe it comes from the biblical, the hand washing, ritual hand washing, that you're not really clean in your heart, but you've washed your hands, so you appear to be.
I'm innocent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I'm a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know where it comes from. I don't know who brought in the washing thing, but they use it all these days in different terms like greenwashing, like even with things like DEI in terms of the diversity, equality, and inclusion washing, philanthropy washing, and all those
Yeah.
type of things, sustainability and things
Pretend
like
it's
that.
clean.
So it's pretending. So it's pretending you give, but it's really for the show.
So it's,
It's
yeah,
for the
ostentatious,
public
yeah.
persona. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I-
That's
I-
interesting because what Gertraud shared with us is the exact opposites, is going inside what's really in there, and then how can we manifest it, that's great. It's like an antidote to the washing.
That's right. I felt it so genuine what you shared. So it felt like when your generosity comes from that place, that's really a nice thing.
There's
Nice.
a person here staying in my house, and she told me today that about a person who I think for a city, or I don't know who it is, a sort of community, gave 1 million euros every year, and many years, and they don't know who it is.
Oh, great.
So that's certainly not, nobody knows who it is, but every year it comes, the money. Isn't that great? Good.
Thank you. It was really
Ladies, it
nice.
was again a nice. Thank you for everybody, and hope to see you again in 2 weeks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And also, Christine, whenever you can, you're very, very welcome to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
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 I really love to come, but sometimes I'm in a train or something. So if I don't show up, sometimes I forget to tell you, but
Oh yeah, and Beatrice also sends her love. She because of the time change, we changed to
earlier.
yeah. So she was already at work, so she couldn't join, but she said to send her love and please say hello to everyone.
So remember, next
and
time it's still like today. It's still like today, and only in 1 month it will be regular again. Okay.
Last weekend in March, it's here.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.